In the last episode, we finally reached Kagani, the end of the rough approach by bus, jeeps, and plenty of improvisation. And now, the real walking begins. This stretch takes us from Kagani toward Chhepka, then onward through Rechi and Ringmo, and finally to one of the most iconic places in all of Nepal, Phoksundo Lake. What I love about this part of the trek is that Dolpo doesn't reveal itself all at once. It unfolds slowly, day by day, as the landscape changes and the sense of remoteness deepens. You start noticing the little things, the thin mountain air in the morning, the sound of the river below, the way villages appear like small islands of human life in a sea of mountains. As we move forward, we're also moving into a protected world, Shey Phoksundo National Park. This park is famous not just because it contains Phoksundo Lake, but because it protects a rare trans-Himalayan environment, a meeting point between forested valleys and the drier, higher Tibetan plateau landscapes. For me, trekking into a national park on foot always changes the feeling of travel. It's like crossing an invisible border. The road world fades and the walking world takes over. The trail here often follows river valleys and climbs above them in long traverses. You'll see suspension bridges, steep hillsides, and stretches where the path clings to the slope. Some sections feel gentle and meditative, and others remind you very quickly that Dolpo is not a casual trek. Even before the high passes of Upper Dolpo, this region demands effort. Chhepka is one of those places that feels like a natural resting point, not because it's luxurious, but because you can sense how important these villages are along the route. In regions like this, villages are more than dots on a map. There's shelter, warmth, food, conversation, and the quiet reassurance that you're still connected to human life, even out here. As we continue toward Rechi and then Ringmo, the scenery begins to shift. The feeling becomes more Tibetan. The architecture changes. The spiritual presence becomes more visible. Prayer flags, chortens, mani walls, small signals that you're moving deeper into a cultural landscape that has been shaped for centuries by Buddhism and the older Ban tradition. And then comes that moment every trekker remembers, the first real view of Phoksundo. Phoksundo Lake is not the kind of beauty that whispers. It hits you. A sudden burst of turquoise and deep blue, sitting high in the mountains, like a secret kept by stone and sky. The color can change depending on the light and weather, sometimes bright blue, sometimes darker, almost unreal, and it feels less like a lake and more like a polished gemstone dropped into the Himalayas. The village of Ringmo sits near the lake, and what's fascinating is that the entire lake exists because of a massive ancient landslide that formed a natural dam tens of thousands of years ago. It's one of those moments where geology and human life meet. A catastrophe long ago becomes the reason a sacred landscape exists today. And at the southern end of the lake, the water doesn't just flow out gently, it plunges dramatically down as a waterfall into the gorge below. When you stand near that outflow, you can feel the force of the lake leaving the high world behind, dropping down toward the lower valleys. Camping here, near Phoksundo, feels like being suspended between worlds. Behind you are the greener valleys you came through. Ahead lies deeper Dolpo, harsher, higher, and more culturally Tibetan as you move toward Upper Dolpo. And this is where the trek starts to feel like a true expedition. Not because the route is complicated on a map, but because the place changes you. Your daily life becomes very simple. Walk, eat, rest, repeat. And inside that simplicity, everything becomes more vivid. The cold air at sunrise, the sound of wind on the lake, the quiet of the mountains at night, and the sense that you're walking into one of the most remote cultural landscapes in the entire Himalayas. If you would like to know more about my experience over the past 5 decades, learning and using more than 30 languages around the globe, with adventures in 101 countries so far, then please visit my website, polyglotdreams.com. There you will find my memoir, A Life in 30 Languages, translated in various languages and integrated with audio and dual readers to offer a great way to improve your target languages.